Hello aspirants. So in this video lecture we are going to talk about reasons for inflation. So in my previous videos I have talked about only one reason, cost push inflation. Now as you know that inflation, there are multiple reasons for the inflation. One is demand pull inflation. Number two is cost push inflation. Number three Number three is structural inflation. Number four, you can say these are the three major reasons for the inflation. Apart from that, there are three minor reasons also. That is, fourth is rumor, or you can say speculation. So that is also responsible for inflation. Number five, hoarding. And number six, cartelization. So basically, we have six reasons for inflation. So three are the major reasons which you will witness in every economy, and these are minor reasons. So when we talk about inflation, so you know that nowadays inflation is a hot topic of UPSC, because currently you see that recently we have increased prices of tomato, then we have, you can say, increased prices of onion. So inflation more or less remain in the news every month. So that is why it is very important to know the reason for the inflation. Okay. So already we have seen in my previous video. So you can refer my previous video for cost push inflation. So there I have talked about specifically cost push inflation. Because why I have talked about, or why I have made a separate video, because sometimes you have seen that RBI and Monetary Policy Committee used to tell to the government that you must focus on supply side. Okay. So already I have talked about that cost push. So in this video I am going to talk about demand pull inflation, structural inflation, you can say speculation, hoarding and cartelization, and what are the steps or solutions taken by the government to control, or to you can say find a solution for such inflation. Now when we talk about demand pull inflation, so as the name suggests, demand pull inflation. As the name suggests, demand pull inflation. What does it mean? So, in demand pull inflation, you will see that here you can say there is more demand by the people in an economy. More demand by the people. So, ultimately, if you see the meaning here, that if the demand is high for a product and supply is low, the price of the product increases. It occurs when the demand for goods and services increase faster than economy's productive capacity. So ultimately, if suppose you can understand in this way, for example, if in your area there is one shop, no doubt that shopkeeper is bringing or having products, those, or you can say those products only which you can say they can sell easily in a day, or you can say in a month. But if suppose the demand for the product increases, so it means he has to arrange more products. But if he is unable to arrange, then you will see that the prices are going to increase. So this is what you can say demand pull inflation. So best example is like in the time of COVID period or COVID time period. So there is a sudden demand in sanitizer. So ultimately demand for sanitizer increased. So you have seen that 10 rupees bottle of sanitizer is now sold at 25, 30, or you can say 50 rupees. So this is called demand pull inflation. So ultimately demand has increased. Okay. So normally we have seen that demand has increased. The reason for that is because of increase in money supply. Increase in money supply. So this is one of the reason. Okay. Now this increase in money supply can be due to various reasons or factors. Number one, for example, we can talk about printing of currency by the RBI. Printing of currency by RBI. So if RBI print the currency and then they release that money, okay, if RBI print that currency and they release that money in the market, okay, so this is called printing of currency by RBI. So this is what you have to remember. Second thing, if I talk about, that is inflow of money from foreign country. Inflow of money from foreign country. So this is another reason. So this is what you have to remember. Third, if there is a circulation of black money, okay, that is also the another reason for, you can say, increasing money supply. As well as you can say fake notes, which we call counterfeit notes. So if there is circulation of fake notes also, that is also going to increase the money supply. Now these all are the prominent reason for increasing the money supply, and ultimately this money supply increase is responsible for demand pull. So fake notes. So you are surprised that why fake notes? Because by the time fake notes enter in our economy, okay, and by the time government or you can say concerned authorities identify it, they have penetrated into our economy. So either you check at the beginning itself that there should be no fake notes, but if we unable to do it, so this there is a condition that if we unable to do it, then only it is going to increase the money. Now when we talk about printing of currency by RBI or inflow of money from foreign country, so no doubt for that we have a proper, you can say, mechanism to control it, and that proper mechanism is monetary policy. So here comes the role of monetary policy. So monetary policy plays a major role here. Okay. So here is the role of monetary policy that you have to remember. Okay. Next, if you see, when you talk about, you can say, inflow of money from foreign country. So here if you see, again the role of monetary policy is there, but when you refer a chapter that is balance of payment, so there you will understand the concept of sterilization. Okay. So there is another term that is sterilization. So if you see UPSC 2023 question, that is prelims. Okay, UPSC 2023 question, that is prelims. Okay, so there they have asked what do you mean by sterilization in prelims paper. Okay, in prelims paper. So you can say this sterilization is with respect to foreign currency and it works similar to open market operation. So ultimately, if you see this question of UPSC 2023, you will find this term sterilization. Although when we'll cover BOP chapter in our this lecture series, there I'll talk about in detail about sterilization. Clear? Now when it comes to black money and counterfeit notes, now here it is a concern for us. Now RBI monetary policy failed to you can say identify these things. Okay, so ultimately you have studied about M1, M2, M3, M4. So these are, you can say, tools to measure money supply in a market. So ultimately when you calculate M1, M2, M3, M4, so through that they does not capture, you can say, how much black money and counterfeit notes are circulating. So there is no, you can say, data that is captured under M1, M2, M3. So M1, M2, M3, M4 only captures your printing of currency and inflow of money from foreign countries. So they capture only this thing. Clear? Now ultimately the solution for this is, you can say, law and order. Okay. So LNO is the solution. Okay, law and order is the only solution. So when it comes to black money, so you have seen that in newspaper frequently you see that income tax department or GST department are conducting raids. So that is the only solution in order to catch black money. So if someone is not disclosing its actual income, okay, so that becomes a black money. Similarly, when we talk about counterfeit notes, so you know that if our concerned authorities like intelligence agencies are continuously monitoring that no one is responsible for, you can say, this counterfeit notes. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? This is what you have to remember, that counterfeit notes are basically tackled with the help of IB, that is Intelligence Bureau, and you can say RAW, Research and Analysis Wing. Okay, these counterfeit notes are, you can say, monitored by these two organizations. Clear? Next, so ultimately for demand pull inflation, we can say that monetary policy is able to tackle demand pull inflation, but only when the source of money or source of inflow is legal one, or you can say which can be tracked by the RBI. But when the source is illegal one, okay, that is black money or counterfeit, their monetary policy does not work. So this is one of the reason for the failure of monetary policy. This is what you have to remember. Okay, so this is what you have to remember. Clear? Now I hope you get the concept clarity, that what is or how demand pull inflation is responsible for increasing the inflation, okay, and how we can manage it or tackle it. Okay, so if you have understood this thing, so please tell me in comment section that yes sir, it is clearly understood. Clear? Now cost push we have already done, so you can refer my previous video. So still you have any doubt, so you can contact me on my, or you can message me on my Insta page. Okay, that is economy_Himanshu. So I'll just write it. So you can follow me on this also. So there I used to put updates also. Clear? So you can follow me here. Okay. Now we'll come to structural inflation. So when we are talking about structural inflation, so if you see structural inflation, so when we talk about structural, so already cost push we have done. So this inflation occurred due to structural weakness. So here structure here means, you can say, infrastructure, poor quality infrastructure. So if poor quality of infrastructure is there, okay, or you can say supply chain bottleneck. So that supply chain bottleneck also means, you can say, part of infrastructure. So ultimately that is called structural inflation. So this is also called as bottleneck inflation. So this is what you have to remember. Okay. Now, so you can say poor quality infrastructure is responsible for inflation. So this is what you have to remember here. Now when I am saying poor quality, so we can understand with one example. So for example, you are traveling from place A to place B, and if the quality of road, like in case 1, if quality of road is poor, okay, in case 1 the quality of road is poor, so you will observe what, that more fuel will be consumed by your car. Okay, so you can say more fuel will be consumed by a car. So ultimately your trip will become costly. Now if suppose in case 2 the quality of road is very good, or you can say it's expressway, so ultimately you will see that in under expressway that less fuel will be used. Less fuel will be used. So this thing, what it denotes, that here you will see, in case 1, that if suppose take that some product is transported from here to here, so it means transportation cost will be more in case 1 as compared to case 2. So ultimately quality infrastructure matters. Quality infrastructure matters. Now keeping this thing in mind, Government of India has taken so many initiatives. Like for example, if I talk about the initiatives of Government of India, so you know that Government of India has focused on quality infrastructure in terms of multi model logistic park, multi-model logistic park. Similarly, government has also focused on Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti Yojana or program. Okay. So here you know that government is developing, or you can say developing infrastructure with a coordination of 16 ministries. So you can say the concept of Bharat Mala, okay, Sagar Mala, development of inland waterways. So ultimately all these are going to reduce the cost of infrastructure. Similarly, you can say modernization of ports, modernization of ports. Similarly, you will see that we have Udan scheme, that is Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. So where you will see that ki whatever existing airports we have, they are modernized. Plus we have air connectivity in those areas also, which are, or you can say where you can say air connectivity does not exist till now. Okay. So this is what Udan scheme. Now to further provide the benefit of Udan scheme to farmers also. Why? Because farmers are producing perishable item. So government came with a concept of Kisan Udan. So ultimately the objective of this is that whatever perishable item Kisan is producing, that is farmer is producing, so they can be sent at less time without wastage. Okay. So it benefit both to the nation as well as to the farmer also, because he will get the money. Now when it comes to railway, so we are making dedicated freight corridor. So this year there is a question on this also. Okay, dedicated freight corridor, that is north to south corridor. Okay, as well as east to west corridor. Okay, so this year there is a question on this also, that is in UPSC 2023. So this is what you have to remember. So we have a proper, you can say, working over infrastructure, because if we have a quality infrastructure, then you can ensure the transportation of goods and goods at less cost. Okay. So ultimately right now the India's logistic cost is around 14% of GDP. So our logistic cost is around 14% of GDP. Now remember this number because it is very important. Whereas our target is, so this is India's current status or current position, and our target is that to reduce this logistic cost, and our target is to reduce this logistic cost and bring it to less than 10% of GDP. Whereas if you see our counter countries like US, China, so there you will see that their logistic cost is less than 6% of GDP. Okay, but still, even if we bring it to 10% or less than 10%, it's a great achievement for us. But it is still more than what our, you can say, other countries have like US, China. Okay, so still it is more. But now government has kept that it should be bring to this. So that is, or this is the reason why, or you can say government is focusing on this or emphasizing on this. So once we have these infrastructure or these infrastructure get completed, so you will see that logistic cost will reduce drastically. Okay, logistic cost will reduce drastically, and when this will reduce, so no doubt in saying that the cost of, or you can say cost of transportation cost of any product, okay, will also reduce. So ultimately you will see that the prices of the product will reduce. Okay, So this is the benefit. Now similarly, due to poor quality of storage, we have a loss of agricultural product every year. Okay. So if you see that right now government is also focusing on warehouses. Now warehouses does not mean any simple storage space. So warehouse means where a product can be stored without damage or without getting damaged by rodents. So it means warehouses are developed on a scientific lines where you can store a product for a long time and there will be no attack of rodents on that product. So it is not just like a storeroom where you can keep everything. So ultimately they are designed in such a way that rodents cannot come in that. Clear? So keeping that thing in mind, warehouses are developed. So warehouses are developed in a scientific manner. Okay, as well as cold storage. Now ultimately what is the challenge here? That in cold storage first of all it's very expensive as compared to warehouses. So warehouses are also expensive. But in cold storage, like in your house, you keep all the fruits and vegetable at one temperature in a fridge. But in cold storage, you have to develop such a system that all the fruits and vegetable require different temperatures. So this is what you have to, this is what is the need. Okay. And for that, government is inviting private sector to invest in warehouse and cold storage. So this is what you have to remember. Now moving further, even when we'll cover ENAM, that is Electronic National Agriculture Market. So don't think it's non-aligned movement which you study in IR. Okay. So when you study ENAM, so there you will see that in ENAM, okay, in ENAM, you will witness or observe what that that there is one concept of e-warehouse receipt. E-warehouse receipt. So it is somewhat related to that only. So basically through that they are promoting warehouses. Now what is e-warehouse receipt? That will cover in our coming lectures. Don't worry. Clear? Now similarly the role of technology. So technology is also considered as a part of infrastructure. So you can say when I am saying technology, we are talking about research and development base. Okay, research and development base that will act as a infrastructure. Okay, so that will act as a infrastructure. So research and development base. So here we are talking about R&D. So if we have a good research and development base, definitely it will help to you can say create a technology which is more effective or productive in nature. For example, you know that last year, so when I'm talking about last year, so I'm talking about 2022, our wheat production get damaged, and the reason for that is heat wave. So you know that ki wheat is, you can say what is the sowing time period of wheat is, that is in the month of October, November, and what is the cultivation or you can say harvest time is, that is March, April. So this is the time period wheat is needed to cultivate. So this is Rabi season. But agricultural scientists realize one thing, that if we reduce the cultivation time period, you will analyze one thing, okay, that we can protect our wheat from heat wave. Now, in order to do that, that can be only possible when you have a good research and development. So this is what you can say our government is spending on. Clear? So research and development base is a part of infrastructure. So if you have these things, so we can over structural inflation. Now, again, if you observe one thing here, that demand pull inflation can be tackled by monetary policy to some extent, if the source of money is. But when it comes to structural inflation, there is no role of you can say monetary policy, or you can say very less role of monetary policy. So here the major role is of fiscal policy. So if government in its budget, or you can say fiscal policy, if they have given priority to it, then it is fine. So ultimately you can say fiscal policy has a major role for structural inflation, okay, or to tackle structural inflation. Same in my previous video of cost push inflation, there also I said the same thing, that fiscal policy has a major role with respect to cost push inflation. So one thing is clear, that when it comes to cost push inflation and structural inflation, so the answer is, you can say the major role is of fiscal policy. But when it comes to demand pull, there the answer is, you can say monetary policy. So this is what you have to remember. Now moving further, rumors and speculation. Rumor and speculation. So whenever there is a rumor or speculation, you will observe, or you will see, that due to such rumors and speculation, prices of the product get increased. Now, in order to tackle it, such rumors and speculation, we have a Information Technology Act. So again, the role of law and order. Okay. Similarly, in order to tackle, another reason for inflation is hoarding. So when it comes to hoarding, so hoarding can be tackled if, you can say, so first of all understand what is hoarding. So in hoarding we will see that some anti-economic elements, they used to create a shortage of, or you can say artificial shortage of some products. So that is called hoarding. Now to tackle hoarding, we have a special act known as Essential Commodity Act. Now when I am talking about Essential Commodity Act, what does it mean? Here in Essential Commodity Act, here in Essential Commodity Act, we are only talking about essential products. So if there is non-essential product, or you can say luxury product, that for that hoarding is allowed. Okay, or you can say for that there is no concern. So how much you can hoard. But when it comes to essential commodity, hoarding is not allowed. Best example that I can give you, during COVID time period, we have seen that sanitizer, mask, gloves, PP kit, COVID medicines, oxygen cylinder, they have been regarded as essential products. So ultimately those who are found having, or you can say storing such items, okay, so they will be penalized, or action will be taken against them by the concerned authority. Okay. Now this Essential Commodity Act is implemented by Ministry of Consumer Affairs. Now here you have to remember one thing. Now here you have to remember one thing, that when we talk about Essential Commodity Act, so if suppose in future any known is opening any, you can say, grocery store. Now in no doubt in saying that ki in grocery store there are essential products, or you can say grocery stores are selling the essential products. So ultimately every grocery store has to take permission from Ministry of Consumer, that how much items they can store. So it is not like that ki you can store unlimited product, okay, or you can say to some extent you can store. So whatever you are storing, you have to take permission. So ultimately these supermarkets, those who are selling grocery items, so they have to take permission. So they cannot store, you can say, unlimited products, or you can say of their choice. Otherwise they will become responsible for creating scarcity, and in market the prices of the product will increase. So ultimately permission is needed. So here you have to remember that for opening any grocery store, you have to implement the provisions of Essential Commodity. So you cannot store any quantity of product. So whatever quantity of product you are storing, so you have to take permission, and from where, that is Ministry of Consumer Affairs. So this is what you have to understand. Now this can be a possible prelims question, that essential commodities can be stored up to any limit, okay, or any quantity can be stored. So you have to tell that if anyone is storing the essential commodities, so they have to take the permission. So once permission is given for how much quantity they can store, only that can be stored. Clear? So this is what you can expect in prelims. So this is what your conceptual clarity of the law. Okay. Now last is cartelization. Now when we are talking about the term cartelization, so it means forming a group. It means forming a group. Okay. So ultimately when you create a group and then you create a monopoly and sell the product at same price or at, you can say, higher price, that is called as cartelization. Okay. Now here in cartelization, you will observe one thing, that for cartelization we have a very famous act, or in order to stop the practice of cartelization. Why? Because cartelization has been regarded in our country an unfair practice. Now to stop that cartelization, we have a Competition Act, Competition Act 2002, okay, which came after repealing or replacing a very another famous act, MRTP. MRTP Act. Now through this Competition Act, we have set up a Competition Commission of India. So we have set up Competition Commission of India. So this is what you have to remember. So you see that ki CCI remain in the news, or you can say it remain frequently in the news. So you have to remember this Competition Commission of, clear. So this is about CCI, okay, or you can say CCI is responsible, or what is the mandate is to ensure a fair business practices. So there should be no unfair practices. So this is what the role of CCI. So either anyone can complain CCI with respect to any unfair business practices, or CCI can take action on its own, which we call a legal term suo moto. Okay, on its own. That is suo moto. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. And nowadays it is in news because of, you can say, Google. Okay, so Google. So this is what you have to understand. Clear? So this is about, you can say, 6 reasons for inflation. So we have seen the solution also. That first reason is demand pull. So we have seen that in this video. Second is cost push. So with respect to cost push, I have a separate video. Third, we have seen the structural inflation. So that is due to poor quality of infrastructure. So we have a solution for that also. Fourth, we have seen rumors or speculation. So we have a solution for that. Next, we have seen hoarding. So we have a solution, Essential Commodity Act. And finally, we have seen cartelization. For that, we have a Competition Commission of India, CCI. Okay. So this is what you have to remember. So you have to tell me in comment section who is the chairperson of CCI. Okay. So she is a lady. Okay. So you have to tell me the name. Okay. So she has been appointed recently. So it is in news. Okay. It is in news also. Clear? So I'll wait for your comments. Okay. So I hope you find this session helpful. So if you have any query, so you can, again I'll tell you that you can message me with your query, your name and query, so that I can reply you within 24 to 48 hours. Okay. So I hope you find it helpful. So we'll meet soon. Jai Hind and have a nice day.